evening and welcome to what we're calling a very special edition of Tucker Carlson tonight. Happy Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be grateful for this year. Obviously, our families, the core of everything, our friends, our way of life, yes, our dogs. We should also be thankful always for the greatness and beauty of nature. It's all around us. And animals are part of nature. We've talked a lot about them over the years. We're not a nature show, but we can't resist. For example, we recently talked to a woman we like to call the chicken lady. She was horrified when the totally discredited bureaucrats at CDC said we had to stop being around our birds. And so since it is Thanksgiving, a day that in some sense celebrates all that birds give us, we thought we'd revive that interview. Here it is. We're happy to have her on tonight. Tara, thanks so much for coming on. Oh, that's a good-looking bird.
Me.
So how do you... It feels like you've been singled out by the CDC for criticism. How does that feel?
You know, I'm not a huge fan of it because I've been handling chickens since I was about 4 years old, and I've been kissing them, snuggling them, shoving my face in them, and I'm fine. People around me are fine, and I don't see a problem with it.
I mean, you're living the way people used to live. I mean, human beings have a long history with poultry. It's a domesticated animal, right? Why do you think there's the concern now? Why are they coming after you now, the CDC?
I think that maybe they're just looking for something else to control, and I'm not a huge fan, and I don't support it. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep loving on my birds and showing them my affection.
Tell us what you are doing with those birds. I mean, does that bird, who is that? Is that Sheila?
No. This is not Sheila. This is Bad Boy Halo. This is one of my roosters that I hatched back in February. And he basically just makes me babies, and he's a real important in my flock.
What kind of pet does he make? I mean, for people who are thinking, people think of chickens as eggs and dinner. You're describing a whole new way of looking at chickens. Are they good pets?
I fully support everybody owning a chicken in their lifetime. They are way smarter than people give them credit for. They have facial recognition. They know exactly who I am when I pull up to my house. They're just all around great pets. They have amazing personalities, and people are over here saying that they're dumb and stupid, and they're not even for a second.
So I got to ask you, since you're an enthusiast and an expert, someone once told me that chickens are so dumb, if you face them in a corner, they can't get out. Is that true?
Whoever made that up has something against birds, and it's not true at all. They know exactly what to do. Sometimes they get stuck in corners, but for the most part, they can figure it out.
How many you're totally winning me over, by the way. I'm just going to be honest about it. How many chickens do you have?
I have 30.
Do you live in a rural area?
Yeah, so I live out kind of more towards the outskirts of the city, and I have about 22 acres there with all of them living there with me.
Are those, last question, are these house birds? I mean, I'm trying not to ask, do they sleep on the bed? But I'll just ask, do they sleep on the bed?
So when I have chicks, when I've hatched chicks, I have been known to bring them inside. I'll roll them up in a towel, and they'll sleep next to me, and it will be like a chicken burrito. And sometimes they'll come inside, if I need to give them a bath or clean them or stuff, but they're pretty comfortable inside.
I am such a believer. Tara, thank you so much for coming on tonight. That was great. Good to see you.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
So you could at least imagine yourself getting close to a chicken. They're not that threatening. But a bear? Huh. No. Not voluntarily. We recently spoke to a college wrestler who had a completely unexpected experience with a bear and turned out to be a hero when it mattered. Watch. Most people see a bear, particularly in the West, where they're legitimately dangerous and they run. You attacked the bear. Why did you decide to do that?
That's right. I just couldn't watch my teammate being attacked by the bear. I saw it right on top of him, and I couldn't let that happen. I had to step in and do something. So I walked up to it and grabbed his ear and pulled on it, and then the bear directed its attention towards me, and it attacked me.
What did the bear do? I mean, I think if you pull on a bear's ear, you got to expect the bear's going to attack you. You knew that. You did it anyway. I just think it's absolutely heroic and so impressive. What did the bear do? How did he attack you?
When I pulled on its ear, it kind of looked right at me, and my heart kind of sunk. I took a few steps back, and then the bear just lunged forward, and he got me onto the ground and pushed me all the way against some trees, and started attacking me, chewing on my hands and my legs a little bit, and it left me alone. And then I called out to my buddy to make sure he was still all right, and then the bear came back, and it attacked me again. It got my head and my face over here, and then I kind of just laid there lifeless, and it left again, and this time I gave it 2 or 3 minutes before I got up and started walking down the mountain.
Bleeding from a bear attack. Well, it's an extraordinary story. How are your injuries? How are your hands? How's your head?
I got puncture wounds in my legs and in my hands, and then my arm here, and I got like 60 some staples in my head, and then another big old bite mark in my cheek, and I think I had hundreds of stitches.
I mean, I hope you were greeted as a hero back at home. I mean, in Wyoming, this is still considered impressive behavior, isn't it?
Right, yep. They had fire trucks and police cars and all sorts of stuff when I got back home.
Well deserved. Yep. I have to ask, you always hear about bear attacks, and the people who survive, I don't think most do survive, but the ones who do, always say that the bear has terrible breath. Is that true?
That's very true. I don't know what it was eating before, but its breath it's something I'll remember. It was nasty.
I'm sorry to laugh. When the bear had your head in his mouth, you must have thought you were going to die. He's chewing on you.
I did, yeah. For a second, I thought I was going to die, kind of laying there, but I guess it wasn't my time. I had great teammates.
What'd your
August
parents
Harrison, say? They're just happy for me to be alive, and they said that I was always kind of that kid that would put my life before someone else's.
Yeah, but to attack a grizzly bear is pretty, I mean, that's going kind of above and beyond.
Yeah, they call me crazy for that. They say I'm crazy for that.
Well, I love it, and I wish we had a lot more men like you. So we try to avoid snake stories because they're just too cold for us. But when you come across a man known as the Python Cowboy, well, you stop and listen. And we did listen to this man. He's massively popular on social media. He explained how he catches pythons in Florida's Everglades in an effort to restore balance to nature there. Some of those pythons get turned into python jerky for real. Here's that interview. His name is Mike Kimmel. He's a trapper known in Florida as the Python Cowboy, and we're happy to have him on tonight. Mr. Kimmel, thanks so much for coming on. So what is your plan to deal with the overabundance of pythons in Florida?
Well, it's really not just my plan, you know. A lot of people are involved with it, and we need to hunt and we need to remove them. And the state right now has different programs to do that, but we need more help. You know, we need the general public involved, and you know, we're doing everything we can to try to incentivize that.
So one of the kind of core ethical precepts of hunting is you eat what you kill. Do you eat python?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And if I don't eat it, I definitely make use of it. You know, you can only eat so much snake. So, you know, anything I don't eat myself, I feed to my different wildlife rescues and livestock I have.
Huh. I mean, it goes without saying it tastes like chicken, so I'm not even going to ask you. But tell me how hard it is to hunt a python and how dangerous.
It's definitely not easy. It's a labor of love. You know, it's something you got to be passionate about, something, you know, to kind of have motivation for. I generally go out there for 3 to 5 days at a time. I'm sleeping in the swamp, and I'm hunting these invasive snakes either by boat or in my customized truck, where I'm driving these levees that stretch out into the swamp, and I'm looking for these snakes while they're hunting for our native wildlife.
Well, it looks like they're hunting for you. I'm watching video of blood all over your arm. You got bitten by a python? What was that like?
Yeah, you know, sometimes the job gets a little messy, a little dangerous, and it's just a part of it. Recently capturing a big, almost 18-foot python, 135 pounds. And it struck at me. I was able to dodge its strike, but it gave me another quick half strike I wasn't expecting. These older snakes, they're smart, they know what they're doing, and it got me pretty good on my arm. Actually, got a couple main veins. I think it just missed an artery, but I had a little bit of a gusher coming out of my arm.
Where's that snake now?
Here's the one that got me, but I ended up getting her.
That's amazing. What kind of firearm do you use for python hunting?
Generally, I'm just using my hands. I capture them alive. For me, that's the safest way and the most humane way to do it. It's a lot harder to shoot a snake directly in the brain than you think it is. And generally, these snakes, they're not scared of anything. They think they're camouflaged. You know, they're the top predator. And I'm able to sneak up on them, grab them, and once I grab them, you know, they're not going anywhere. It's becomes a wrestling match, but thankfully I get the better of them.
Damn. Well, it's sporting anyway. No one deer hunts like that, though. I would recommend a 308. That's just me. But I'm very impressed. Mike Kimmel, it's great to see you tonight. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Glenn Greenwald is one of the bravest, most clear-thinking people in journalism, but he's also, and if you already liked him, you'll be happy to know, a dog lover who runs a shelter for stray dogs out of his home in Brazil. We went there. We have footage from that. Plus, we ate some bugs on live television. You don't have to. We'll tell you how they were. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the special Thanksgiving edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight. On Thanksgiving, you consider all the things you're thankful for, and honestly, we're thankful for dogs. Glenn Greenwald is as well. He's one of the bravest and most famous journalists in this country. He's frequently on the show. What we didn't know, and you may not have known, is that he also is a dog lover who's devoted his life to helping dogs. So we went and visited him in Rio de Janeiro, went to his animal shelter in his home, and thought we would show you what it's like. Well, good morning. Hi, guys. How are you? Hey. Hey.
They're bilingual.
How are you doing?
This was the dog that was born in my office,
No way.
whose mother I picked up when she was pregnant.
Oh, what a beautiful dog.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's kind of the leader of this pack, of this part of the pack. These are sisters. Those two little, like, thin black dogs.
Are they?
Yeah, they're like twins.
Hi, what? Can I just ask what's going on here? I'm sorry, can we just talk about this? What are you doing? It's interesting. Dogs are like our pathway into the animal world or something. It's like they're the bridge between us and all the other species.
Animals are sentient. Animals feel suffering and sadness and loss and love, and care for their babies and their social circles. So for me, they're the gateway into getting people to care about animals generally. I mean, that bond between a dog and a person is just so
very profound. And hard to really understand. I mean, it's like, why did this evolve this way? It's interesting.
I mean, I guess on some level it makes sense that it was a wise evolutionary strategy for dogs to, make themselves so well connected to humans. But I think that they have so many capacities of perception and understanding of the world that we haven't begun to understand.
Yes, I agree with that.
So I would say, what I will say is, this dog here is the one who I'm most close with physically. I'm always with him. He really doesn't allow me to have strong relations with other dogs. And honestly, I used to say, I always saw him as my best friend, but then I came to realize that he's more like an abusive boyfriend. I'm convinced that when I'm sleeping, he goes through my phone at night looking at my WhatsApp to see who I'm talking with, because he's very, very possessive. He won't, Sylvester, come here. Sylvester, come here. He really does not appreciate it.
What's his name?
Kane.
Kane.
Sometimes what'll happen is people bring dogs here that are ostensibly for the shelter, like this one, and we just fall in love with them. We're like, that one's not going to the shelter.
This one's a good dog. Look at that.
And like, you see what happens is, like, he's old. He's like, this is an older dog. He's at least 10 years old. And he was super traumatized when we got him. He took him like a year to even get near anybody. But he plays with them all day. So the like younger dogs keep the dogs in the pack younger.
Yes, that is true. So you can truly love animals. You can even have 4 of them, spend the night in your bed every night, but you also probably eat meat. There's nothing wrong with that. But the people in charge don't like that. Not that they love animals, but they would still like you to eat insects in your tiny pod and be grateful for it, because that's going to help with climate change somehow. Obviously, we're never going to do that. But we did think it might be worth seeing what it's like if we had to. So at one point, we tried out some cicada brownies out of pure curiosity. Here's how it went.
Tucker, good to be here. Yeah, the Brood X kind of sounds like the rival gang at the high school quad, but this is the group of cicadas that show up every 17 years. Last time we saw them was 2004. They are notable for that loud sound that they make. It's often heard when we go to press conferences or throughout the Washington, D.C. area when we're hearing politicians. It's almost hard to hear them. 100 decibels is how loud that sound can get. It's interesting. The sound that you are hearing from the cicadas is actually the mating call of the male cicada to the female cicada to get the groove on so they can make the babies, drop them back down in the ground, and they'll pop out 17 years later. They are edible, and Tucker, we got you some edibles ready for you from the Rising Creek Bakery in Mount Morris, PA. They sent you quite a variety of delicious treats there, including cicadas. Now, we have to say this. The FDA has said if you have an allergy to shellfish, so shrimp or lobster, crawfish, things like that, if you have an allergy to those, don't eat the cicadas. You'll have an allergic reaction to the cicadas because they're actually in the same family, but they are otherwise safe to eat. As for your pets, it's okay for them to eat them in moderation if your dog goes out in the backyard and grabs them. So are you going to try one of these delicious cookies and let the world know that they're pretty tasty?
I got to be honest with you, Brett. My producers left these on my desk as I was writing my scripts, and I never looked carefully at baked goods, and I already ate one. And I can say, I'm embarrassed to admit that, but it's actually true. I shouldn't have, but I did. They just looked too good, and it was delicious, but they've asked me to eat one on TV just to reassure our viewers who are kind of on the fence about eating bugs, who are bug curious, as we say in the bug community, and I'm going to eat it. There's a cicada right on the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think you dip...
Honestly, it's delicious.
Yeah, you dip something in chocolate. It's not going to be that bad. I've seen recipes popping up online from all the celebrity chefs. Toss them a little sesame oil, throw a little chopped garlic in there. They're going to be amazing. Just don't get any different ideas. You know, double check before you're eating other bugs, but just know that the cicadas are safe for now, and actually they're a good source of protein. So all in all, and as you're saying, they're not that bad. So maybe every 17 years we have some interesting edibles involving bugs.
The only thing that kind of wrecks it for me is I know that Bill Gates approves. So this is the last time I eaten cicadas. But for the record,
but there's no microchips in the cicadas. They've been in the ground for too long.
No. Yeah, we don't know that, Brett. Brett Larson, thanks so much.
Valid point.
So we have a weakness for strange cheating scandals. If one happens, we cover it on the show, but none of them has approached the level of existential weirdness as what happened at a beauty contest in Saudi Arabia. This is a story involving Arabs, Botox, and camels. We'll tell you how they come together straight ahead.
Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer in New York. An eyewitness at the horrific Walmart shooting in Chesapeake, Virginia, says the suspect who killed 6 co-workers appeared to target people during the attack. They say the suspect shot some victims after they already appeared dead. Authorities say Walmart employees gathered in a break room for a meeting when the team leader started shooting at them with a handgun. Other witnesses say the shooting appeared to fire randomly. And Elon Musk is granting, quote, amnesty for more banned Twitter accounts. It comes after the new CEO posted a poll asking if accounts should be reinstated as long as users didn't break the law or take part in spam. Just last week, Musk posted a similar poll before reinstating former President Trump's account. Trump has said he would not return to the platform. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer, and back to Tucker Carlson Tonight's special.
Welcome back to a special edition of Tucker Carlson tonight. Happy Thanksgiving. We're thankful for animals. So we're doing an animal special tonight. And you can't really do an animal special without considering the life of the beastly Congressman Eric Swalwell of California. As we've told you many times, this is the man who was caught having sexual relations with a Chinese spy called Fang Fang. But that's not all he's been up to. Eric Swalwell has some weird thing for camels. When left to his own devices, Eric Swalwell will hoist himself up upon a camel on one of its humps and ride it around shirtless in the Arabian desert. We're not making that up. He's done it. We have the photographic evidence. So it must have come as a shock to Eric Swalwell, a camel aficionado, when dozens of camels, like the one you're seeing on your screen right now, were recently barred from a regional beauty contest in the Gulf for using Botox to make them even hotter than they already are. Why is this happening, America? We sent our cameras to Saudi Arabia to find out. We've gone right to the source on this. Forrest Galante is a wildlife biologist. He joins us tonight. Forrest, thanks so much for coming on. So let's say you have a camel, through no fault of his own, who's just unusually unattractive, and you think, I'm going to fix this with a lip tuck or an ear pin. Sure. They can't give consent. Should that be allowed?
Well, Tucker, you could ask the same question about your dog at home, right? Your dogs get cropped tails, they get their ears pinned, and that's not making news. So it's basically the same thing. It's a pet that you're altering.
You know, you make a really wise and common sense point that I'm ashamed to say never occurred to me. Now, how unattractive, because I think from the Western perspective, camels all kind of look the same. Do you see a wide variety in camel aesthetics?
Oh, absolutely. It's, again, going back to the pet analogy. It's just like your dog at home. Some people have beautiful dogs, show quality dogs. Right. Others are less fortunate, you know. Here's the thing, Tucker. I live in Southern California, so I've seen, humps that have been enlarged and lips that have been blown up basically every day where I live. So it's not the most unnatural thing in the world over here. And now we're pointing it out as being a problem over there on camels. And it's kind of a little double-edged there.
That is such a smart point. Don't tell me they're getting hump implants in Saudi Arabia, though.
Oh, well, you know, different kinds of humps. But that is a thing that they're doing for their camels over there. They are doing Botox fillers on the lips. They're stretching things. They're inflating the humps. They're doing all kinds of different plastic surgeries to try and enhance the beauty and the aesthetic of these camels. Because the prize money is huge, by the way, millions and millions of dollars.
Can they, really quick, I don't have a ton of camel experience, but some horrible personalities on a camel, nastiest animal God created. Can they fix that?
No, they are typically jerks. They really are. You're not wrong about that, but every now and then you get a sweetheart, and if you ask me, they're all beautiful. If you draw the short end of the stick and you get an ugly camel, love it for its personality.
Forrest Galante really sorting out one of the naughtiest problems in the Middle East tonight. We appreciate your coming on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tucker.
We told you earlier about a college wrestler who turned out to be a hero when it mattered. His friend was attacked by a bear and he saved him. Another man in Siberia was not quite as lucky. He broke his back and was kept in a den, a bear den, as leftovers for a month after being dragged there by an angry brown bear. According to reports at the time, the man survived somehow. We don't mean to shock you. He drank his own urine. That's what they told us. He was found later by a group of hunters who rescued him and took him to the hospital. It's a pretty remarkable story, probably too remarkable to be true. Could a man really survive a month in a bear den with no food, a broken spine, and only urine as a beverage? Could that happen? Well, we asked our own medical expert, Dr. Mark Siegel, for the truth. It's one of these stories that you want to believe is true. As a matter of human physiology, is it possible? Could this be true?
You know, it's possible under the following circumstances. First of all, brown bears do not usually drag humans anywhere. Humans are not their prey. But if he attacked the cubs or he put the cubs at risk, the bear might get angry. And those brown bears do sometimes store food, and they wait for a while till the food decomposes and then they eat it. So it's possible he would be in this cave for a month. He can survive without food, Tucker. You can survive weeks and weeks without food. Mahatma Gandhi survived on a fast for 21 days without food. You need water, though. And you're not going to survive by drinking urine the way he says he did. That's the part of the story I don't believe, because urine is very salty. It's going to make you more dehydrated. You could survive with the broken bones. You might look like that because areas of your skin are going to slough off from insufficient blood flow. The body will protect its vital organs, and blood and glucose and oxygen goes to the vital organs. But here's how you could survive. If you were drinking from the rock icicles in the cave, if the water that was dripping down in the cave, it has minerals in it, and if you're drinking that, you could survive, and it's cold there. Now, Tuva, which is near Mongolia, is about 27, 28 degrees. The colder it is, the more likely you might survive because your organs stay alive longer, including your brain. I think it's possible. I think it's plausible, but not the urine part of this. You'd have to get water somehow. If he got water, he could survive.
That's heartening because the urine part is, of course, repulsive as well. Dr. Siegel, great to see you tonight.
The courage is amazing, too, if it happened. Thank you, Tucker.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Nothing like a Siberian hunter. Tough group. Chicago is one of the greatest cities in the world. It's decaying profoundly under its lunatic mayor, its openly racist mayor, Lori Lightfoot. Not only is the city becoming more violent, much more violent, it's also getting dirtier. So dirty that rats have dominated Chicago. Chicago is now the rattiest city in America and has won that title for 8 years in a row. Residents are complaining they are scared to sit in their own backyards due to rats. So Lori Lightfoot had a solution: release 1,000 feral cats into Chicago. Will that work? Well, we spoke to an actual rat expert, the rat wrangler, Jordan Reed. Here was his take on that plan. Tell us, when you hear of people releasing feral cats to keep rats under control, you chuckle silently to yourself, don't you? The ignorance.
Just a little bit. Feral cats are well known for the problems they cause to native species, and they're not known for catching rats.
Yeah. Right. And by the way, anybody deeply familiar with feral cats would know that. So what would you recommend?
Well, I like to promote the use of dogs, and I'm well known for my work out here in California and Oregon, the use of terriers, as well as dealing with the management problems that's creating the rats.
Terriers, as they were called in Great Britain so long ago, ratting dogs. How many rats can a well-trained ratting dog, a terrier, take out in the course of an evening, would you say? Just ballpark.
Well, I often take my dogs out for 3 or 4 hours, but to farm locations, and I've caught well in excess of several hundred in that time period with 3 or 4 adult dogs.
Several hundred? Well, that's remarkable. Do you let your dogs eat them?
No, sir. Just in case of poison, training to drop it is one of the first commands they learn.
Yeah, so like a bird dog, you don't eat the quail, you drop it at the feet of your master.
And I go around...
And last... I'm sorry?
I just go around and collect them after they're dead.
What do you do with them?
We give them to falconers or we compost them.
Yeah, nothing is wasted. Use the whole rat. I like that. And last question. What do your dogs think of it? I mean, how proud are they after killing 200 rats in a night?
Well, I would answer that question by saying the reason I have chosen this as my fun activity is because I'm embracing the true nature of the dog. So it is my belief that this is truly in the nature of the animal, and because I like terriers, I have to give them an activity.
I love that. I love dogs too, and I agree with you completely. A few years ago, not to brag, we did a timely and very important segment on the secret life of pandas. It was pretty straightforward, not controversial, but it triggered many people on the left. There are still pockets of anti-panda sentiment in this country, and they rose to the surface the second we did the following segment. Here's what we said. You know the official story about pandas. They're cute but adorably helpless, which is why they're almost extinct. But like a lot of what we hear, that's a lie. According to today's Wall Street Journal, quote, "The real panda is a secret stud with a taste for flesh and a fearsome bite. Pandas, it turns out, could easily kill you if they felt like it. Thank God they don't. They're not against sex either. They just hate unsexy zoos. But when they're in the wild, male pandas engage in a fierce sexual contest. The winner has sex 40 times in a single afternoon. It's a good thing pandas are so distracted by their personal lives, or humans would be the endangered species. Something else to be grateful for." Think shark attacks aren't real? Well, just last month, a surfer in Northern California called Jared Trainer was paddling out on his surfboard when he was suddenly pulled underwater by a great white. He explained it to us in remarkable detail and told us what he had to do to free himself from the jaws of that shark. We'll bring that to you next on this special Thanksgiving edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight, Animals. Welcome back to this Thanksgiving animal edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight. Not many people can say they've come face to face with a great white shark and survived, but surfer Jared Trainer of Northern California can say that. He's done it. He was out paddling on a surfboard during the dreaded month of Sharktober when all of a sudden his leg was grabbed by a great white shark and he was pulled underwater. But he was alive enough to sit for an interview with us, so we asked him, how'd you survive? Here it is. Had you worried about this? California, there's a lot of sharks off California. Were you ever worried about sharks?
Yeah, sharks have been probably one of my biggest fears for a long time. Nonetheless, I surf despite, and I have surfed up and down the coast, but for the most part, I surf up here in Humboldt County. Yep. And it was definitely has been on my mind. I live in a town or a city called Fortuna, and the surfing options that we have locally are pretty remote and not a lot of traffic or people in the water. So surfing there quite a bit. It's definitely on your mind. I'd say probably upwards of 70% of the time I do surf there by myself. So it was on my mind, and being the month of October, I had some second thoughts about it, and that day it was on my mind more than usual, probably just because was the beginning of October.
It's kind of neat when your worst fears come true, because then at least you get it out of the way. How did this great white shark latches onto you? How'd you get him off?
At the time, I had just paddled out. I'd probably been in the water for 10 minutes, and between sets of waves, you have some time to think about anything, and it was kind of even on my mind in that moment. And there was a lot of seals in the water, so I actually, it happened so fast that I actually had thought it was a seal, and so I kind of came to. While I was underwater, and most of the pressure was around my knee, and it was more localized, so I thought that it might have been a seal. And I pretty much just gave it one hard kick, and it pretty quickly released, and I got to my board and paddled in, kind of not knowing that I had, many lacerations, and I even checked my knee to see if it had broken my wetsuit. And felt a little tear, and almost initially I felt somewhat inconvenienced or agitated that a seal might have given me an infection. And so when I made it to the beach, that's when I realized how serious it was.
Amazing. There's really nothing cooler than surviving a shark attack from a great white. So congratulations on being alive, and for what an incredible experience. Jared Trainer, thank you. So there are domesticated animals, there are wild animals, and then there are truly wild animals that just cannot be controlled by man. We spoke recently to someone who has been able to coexist and develop deep emotional feelings for the most uncontrollable animal of all, the alligator. An amazing story. Watch this. How did you and your alligator meet?
Wally was actually a wild alligator. He was rescued in Orlando, Florida at Disney in one of the lagoons there. Friends of mine rescue reptiles in Florida, and he brought him up to me the following day. Which, actually 6 years ago, in September.
How old was the gator when you first got him?
He was about 18 months old and about 20 inches long.
So I think the question everyone watching this is asking, how does that man not get eaten by that alligator? Is that a concern for you at all, being eaten by Wally?
No, number one, we are not on the food chain for alligators. Crocodiles and caimans, yes. Okay. But you cannot train an alligator not to bite. Wally just chooses not to bite, pull his teeth, everything. Kissing, He refused to bite. We do not know and cannot understand why.
That is amazing. So you're saying this is as unusual as it looks. I mean, people don't kiss alligators for a reason, but you just did. Wally is not your average alligator.
Oh, I do, because I love this alligator.
Since he's not eating you, what does he eat?
Wally only eats chicken legs, dead rats, and cheesy puff corn. The other gators I've handled in the past 30 years, they'll eat just about any kind of meat you feed to them. Pardon?
So, chicken legs, dead rats, and cheesy puff corn.
Yes.
Yes. That's amazing. What a diet. Where does he live?
He lives in my living room. Well, he lives in my house. I have a 300-gallon pond in my living room. He runs my whole house.
Amazing. How big is he going to get?
Oh, he can average about 15, 16 feet and over 1,000 pounds.
Are you concerned about that?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I know his moves. I know his motions. Like I said, he gets evaluated every year, but we've not even found out what really makes him angry and makes him mad. So we don't know that yet.
I got to say, I went in skeptical, Mr. Henney, but I'm kind of touched by this. I think this is a really nice story, and you seem to have a great relationship with Wally Gator. Thank you for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving. You're probably watching this through a turkey coma. We want to end the show on some good news involving the release of thousands of beagles, some of the greatest dogs there are, from a lab with ties to Tony Fauci. More on that happy story in just a moment. But he did once say, and we're quoting, "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated." And there is some truth in that. We have dominion over the animals, so it's essential that we treat them kindly. So it came as a shock to us to learn that thousands of beagles have been locked up and tortured in a lab in Virginia for no real scientific purpose, and that lab received funding from Tony Fauci's department at the National Institutes of Health. Again, the whole thing is a funding scam. It doesn't save children from pediatric cancer. It just kills beagles. So the scam was exposed, and the beagles are finally being freed, and we recently spoke to someone who's been following this carefully. So these beagles are not going to be tortured. Congratulations, we're celebrating. What happens to them now?
Thank you. We are celebrating, Tucker. Thanks for having me back on. Over the next 60 days or so, they're going to be transferred to the Humane Society of the United States, and from there going to various shelters in Virginia and beyond. The first group was released yesterday to the tune of approximately 400. And these are thousands and thousands of dogs that were bred for research. The facility has been there since 1961. And we are just thrilled that not a single one of these 4,000 beagles will ever be tortured and killed in a lab. They will all have the opportunity to find a loving home, to feel the grass under their paws, the sun on their back, play with a toy, and have a name, things that they have not had the chance to experience thus far.
What was so upsetting about this story was nobody could say with a straight face, well, these dogs are being killed so kids won't die of cancer. There seemed to be no justifiable reason to torture these dogs to death. Or am I missing something?
You are absolutely not missing something, and this is the tip of the iceberg. We are thrilled for these 4,000 dogs, but this facility was the second largest provider of dogs for experiments in this country. There is a larger facility in New York that has, believe it or not, 21,000 beagles. These animals are bred and sold for absolutely pointless, painful experiments. And our federal government has bought dogs from this facility. Since September of 2020, the NIH has had contracts for live dogs, at least 3 contracts. It is time for the NIH to wake up, realize it's the 21st century, and move on to modern, non-animal methods.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much money sloshing around the system that to keep it flowing, they invent experiments that benefit nobody. So you're saying, just to be totally clear on our way out, in the next, how long until these dogs can be adopted by people watching?
The plan for transfer will take place over the next 60 days, and we urge people to just keep an eye. And we are just so thrilled that PETA's undercover investigation prompted this domino effect that resulted not only in 74 violations and the Department of Justice getting involved, but the liberation of these 4,000 dogs. And we hope all the cages get emptied next from all the laboratories and all the breeding facilities.
That's it for us tonight. Happy Thanksgiving. There is so much to be grateful for, even though we're stuck in an echo chamber of lunacy. Real life is not crazy. Real life is full of people you love and who love you back, and that's what matters.